A part of the measure of spiritual maturity is knowing the voice of God. It's not about how many years you've believed in God, or how many years you've believed in Jesus, or how many years you've been a person of faith, but how more clearly is God's voice to you now than it was then. It's incredible how a person's voice can become so recognizable to you. When you love someone, you can single out their voice in the middle of a crowd. Have you ever watched a bunch of moms going to find their kids? Like when I hear a bunch of kids screaming, it just sounds like white noise to me. It's human chaos, and yet every mom knows which kid isn't theirs. The way you know is they're not upset. Everybody else's kid's crying, mine's not, I'm fine. Right? But the moment their kid cries, they jump up and they know. Because identifying someone's voice accelerates by the intimacy with that person. You are designed to hear God's voice. The question, though, is have you learned how to identify his voice in the midst of all the noise? Because one of the things that we can learn from this conversation that Jesus takes us into is that we have crossed-wired comms. Jesus says there are several voices. In fact, he tells us in verse 5, but they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. In fact, Jesus alludes to the fact there's not just one stranger, there's a lot of strangers who are trying to speak to you. They're trying to call you out. They're trying to woo you to themselves. They're trying to convince you that they are the voice you should listen to. And so you have all these voices in your head. Have you ever noticed how crowded your brain can get? It's kind of odd when you think about it. You don't invite people in, they just sneak in. And they get into your head, you're having all these conversations, and you're not even sure of all the voices in your head, which one is you? Because you and you can fight with you all the time. And what the scriptures are actually teaching us, what Jesus actually tells us, is because we're designed to hear God's voice, we are an open system of communication. And there's a lot of communication going on in the unseen reality that we're unaware of, but it's connecting to us, and we can actually hear it in our head. Have you ever been on the phone with someone, and someone else walks into the room and starts talking to you? And it's kind of rude, but you're trying to be polite, so you're trying to listen to both people at the same time. And a moment later, you realize, I have no idea what either one of them said. It can be so frustrating when you have multiple voices, and that's just two, speaking to you at the same time. When it's three, it becomes impossible. And it's so challenging when you realize there's all these voices trying to get your attention, vying not just for your attention, but for control of your mind at the same time.